いしょ。前回と同様にタイトル画面以前から始めてますが。これの画面になる前に、今何時って聞かれて、で、何か本当に完全に知ってる人はいますか？もちろんそんな人はいません。誰も何も知らないのです。あなたと私はお互いを知ってさえいません。まるで他人のようなものです。もちろんこのゲームの設定はあなた仕様に調整しています。でも誰もがそうではありません。私はただ私がやってることで仕事のようなもんです。そして今仕事は終わりました。そしてもう集める情報はありません。私ができる範囲でのあなたの情報はすべて集めました。そしてまだ私はあたなのことを本当には知らない。あなたも私を知らない。そして私たちは共に何時なのか知らない。知ってるよ。設定できないのもいくつかあると思います。しかし正直に言えば、そもそも時計はこのゲーム上で何も関係ないんですよね。次回ゲームをスタートするとき私はここにいないことになりますが、それもいいでしょう。最後ですか？テレビゲームって一人でするものでしたし。あなたは孤独が好きでしょう？それが多分、私はあなたについて学んだ唯一のことかもしれません。さて、私はもう行かなくちゃ。もう一つ調整する必要がある設定があるんですけど、それはちょっと時間がかかるから事前に準備しないと。本当は私の仕事じゃないんですが、でもそれでもいいのです。もし、アタナが私を見つけられるのなら、また私たちは会うでしょう。またね。ちょっと日本語怪しいですよ。そうだ。前回からね、スタンリーパラブル、ウルトラデラックスではなくて、スタンリーパラブル2をね、やってるので、やっていきますか。
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building
オフィスが風船でデコレーションされてるでしょ。これね、スタンリーパラブル2の新機能なんですよ。いや、もういいです。なんか特に
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
2になったからといって、何かね、大きく変わったわけじゃないんだけど、今のところ。強いて言うならこのオフィスにいつか良くなるよっていう風船が追加されたのと、Meeting today in the meeting room。でもこの張り紙、あれ、1にはなかったな、多分。で、これね、絶対安心バケツ。これを拾うと、すべての不安がなくなって安心できるんですよ。でもこの辺はね、一緒なんだよね。だからちょっとさ、フリーダムエンド目指してみる？マインドコントロールセンターに行って、その機能を停止させるっていう。完全攻略主義者の本能を信じて。ミッションステータス、特選の展示内部、広い部屋、たくさんの箱、階段に関係するもの、赤と青の、これあれか。プレイシースサーチ。スタンリー君人形の場所のヒントか。階段に関係するもの。赤と青の両方があるところは、心覚えがあるな。で、1と2はもう、見つけたんだ。暖炉の近く。重要人物のプライベートなしかし、だが臭い場所。なるほどね。全部見つけると報酬があります。マジで何の意味もないって言われたけどな。 ナレーターには。あー、このミーティングが全部、スタンリー君人形の話になってる。スライドが。じゃあ探しに行きます？こっから一番近いのは階段かな。階段に関係するもの。この中にはないか。
Can you feel it? The broom closet. It wants the bucket. You can feel that, can't you? The aura of jealousy. It's as clear as day. This broom closet believes it deserves the bucket.
まあそうね。
I can really feel it now. It's a bucket. It belongs in a broom closet. That's what the broom closet is. Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
そうね。まあ上に行くか。バケツ拾うと、スタンリーとバケツはって言うんやな。細けー。で、この重薬用トイレの中に、あった。やっぱり。
Another miniature Stanley figurine.
Yeah.
This, you know, there really must be a snappier name for these things. What about mini stands? Stanley figs? Or what about Stanlerines? Yes, I think I like that. Another Stanlerine under your belt.
スタンリーン。でさあ、これ、下に行くと確か、
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then, something occurred to
あー、ルー
Stanley.
プしてる。
Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am
あ、こっ
crazy.
ちじゃなかったっ
He
け？
looked down at the bucket in his arms. Am I crazy? He asked the bucket. The bucket returned his gaze, but said nothing at all. That's strange, Stanley thought. Usually the bucket is a source of guidance and wisdom for me in difficult times such as these. He held the bucket close, yet felt none of its familiar reassurance and comfort. And that's when Stanley realized, this isn't my bucket. It's just a normal, everyday bucket. Someone else's bucket, perhaps. How did I end up with someone else's bucket? This is all
絶対安心バケツじゃなく
Surely
な
no
あれ
good would come from this. Who knows what sorts of bizarre hallucinations Stanley might experience without the psychologically grounding presence of his bucket. And indeed, now he noticed that the rooms were repeating, which was, of course, very odd. And now he felt himself floating off the ground.
あ、
Oh, gracious, he
浮いてる
exclaimed.
浮いてる。
Without my bucket, I've gone truly mad. Where is it? I must find it. Far off in the distance now, he heard it, calling to him.
Stanley! Stanley, it's me, the bucket.
Could it truly be? He rushed forward from room to room, passing by
Ah,
one
bucket.
bucket after
Ah,
the
いっぱいバケ
next.
ツある。
None
こ
of
いた
them
ら。
were his.
Ah,
None of
bucket.
them were his special bucket.
Come to me, Stanley. Find me.
どこだ
He
僕
had
の
to
バケツ。
find the bucket. He had to return to his old
Ah,
friend. It was the
どんどん
only way
バケツだら
to
けに
truly
なってる。
restore his sanity. And then suddenly, he froze dead in his tracks. He knew where the voice of the bucket had been coming from. The real bucket was inside of him all along. It was incredibly painful. Stanley doubled over in agony and blacked out.
ああ。
This is the story of a woman named Mariella.
あ、出たわ。バケツがあるかないかの違いだけ
Mariella
ど。
woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, picked up her bucket of comfort and security, and walked to her place of work.
バケツ持ってる
But
マ
on
リ
this
エラも。
particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town, talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. Right away, she knew what the problem was.
ほう。
This man had no bucket. Of course he'd gone mad, ranting and raving about a narrator describing all of his actions and how everything is predetermined and free will is an illusion and it's all just a video game. It could all have been prevented if only he'd taken his
ああ、
bucket.
人には人のバケツがあるんですね。
Perhaps he didn't even realize he'd forgotten his bucket at home in the first place. How cruel the world can be, Mariella thought, and she hugged her own bucket even tighter. But of course, she had no time for this. There were a myriad of confusing problems she would soon have to confront at work, for which her bucket would provide absolute guidance and total clarity on everything. Heck, yes, she thought to herself, my life kicks ass. And she backflipped all the way to work.
おいおいおい。どんどん話がおかしな方向に進んでいくな。
All of his co-workers were gone. What
走
could
れ
it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
バケツどうしようかな。持ってこ
Warmth spread through Stanley's arms. With the bucket in his arms again, he was home.
う。
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
どこだっけ？どこにあるって書いてたっけ？お。はいはいはい。暖炉の近く。暖炉か。Stairs, something to do with stairs. 暖炉があるようなところってあったかな。でも思い当たるのは、
Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
そのボスの部屋とかかな。暖炉、あるあるある。暖炉あるやん。
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire if not for the soothing presence of the bucket.
暖炉はあるけ
In his
ど、
darkest of hours,
人
did
形
the
ないな。
bucket's warmth and guiding light
番
pierce
号
the
何やったっ
dark
け？
clouds of confusion and
2458とかじゃなか
chaos.
ったっけ？
It would be with him always,
2485か。
and he knew it.
あれ違ったっけ？
The two of them were inseparable. At this point, Stanley was so absorbed in
2845。
the tender but Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
あれでも人形がないな。人形がないわ。あった。
Okay, I'm going back to the name of these little Stanley figurines, and now I'm torn between Stanlerines and Figlies. What do you think, Stanley? What name better encapsulates the intrinsic sense of happiness that you get from seeing a small number in the corner of your screen go up by 1? Let me sit on it. I'm sure it will come to me.
まあ、スタンリー君人形でいいじゃん、別に。そんな。普通の名前でいいよ、別に。これであと2つか。
The elevator raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate. It would be all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket. Soothing him, comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine.
ああ、そう。このバケツ。
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility.
まあ、こっち行ってみますか。あれ？あ、バケツ。ああ、よかった。一瞬バケツがなくなったかと思って不安になっちゃった。
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves.
Camera on.
The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock.
Oh,
Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears. Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine.
バケツには感情もあるんですね。
Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well? Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place? These questions raced furiously in Stanley's feeble mind. No! He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control. Never! He squeezed the bucket tighter. His one friend in the entire
こんばん
world.
は。
At this point, he could trust no one except for the bucket.
いや、やっぱバケツってあるだけで楽になりますよね、気持ちが。
But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he and the bucket would dismantle the controls for good. Two best friends, Stanley and the bucket, up against the world. They high-fived in a really cool way, and the bucket made a sassy comment about taking down the system.
なんかバケツ持ってると生き生きするね、スタンリー。やっぱそれだけこのバケツの力が偉大だってことかな。そこのボタン押したいな。でもここ開いてないのか。マインドコントロール、ステータスオフラインね。じゃあ終わらせに行きますか。ポポーン。よし。
When at last they came to the source of the room's power, Stanley and the bucket knew it was their obligation to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for.
でも逆にこれオンにしたら
But at the last second, the bucket jumped in and pressed the button to turn on the controls.
裏切り
Stanley gasped in horror. Had this been the bucket's plan all along? To take over the
バケツの
machine
裏
and
切り
claim the power for itself? How could the bucket have betrayed him like this? Stanley was prepared to throw the bucket away in disgust when suddenly an image appeared upon the enormous screen.
あ、
Birds. Silly, silly birds.
あ、間抜けな鳥。
The control buttons became active again.
あおい。え
Stanley flipped through one video of silly birds after another, and then it dawned on him. This wasn't a mind control facility at all. It was a facility for monitoring and surveilling silly birds all over the world. The mind controls were only a facade to disguise its true intentions.
変わった鳥
Had
だ。
the bucket known this all along?
あ、8度。
Stanley marveled at the metal genius in his hands, the one who had pointed him towards this incredible discovery.
やたら種類あるな、鳥の映
Stanley
像
and。the bucket never found freedom because they spent the rest of their lives here in this place,
マジで
living through live streams of the
で
silliest
も、
birds
でも、こんだけ、こんなに種類あるなら、まあまあま
his life could have taken. This one was surely the best.
あ、なかなか見分けることもないんじゃない
Stanley was happy.
ワンループは短い。なるほど。で、
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
バケツ、
Stanley picked up the bucket and smiled.
バケツは持ってい
He'd
く
never
ぞ。
be alone again, not truly alone, not with the bucket around.
で、多
Stanley
分、
clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the... This was not correct.
残り
The
の
meeting room.
スタンリー
Stanley
君人
had
形
felt the
は、
bucket calling to him, telling
こ
him
っ
that the
ち
employee lounge
だよ
was
ね、
simply
多
the
分
place
ね
to。be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better than the meeting room? No, never mind.
こっち
The
で、
bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room, and so the two of them detoured through the maintenance section and walked straight ahead to the opposite door.
Oh, good Stanley. I'm glad you found your way here. I knew you'd find this place eventually.
はい。えあれなんか見たことないの ?We care about you, Stanley.
You see, your friends and I are concerned for you, Stanley.
ああ、そ
We've
う。
come together here because we care about you very much.
あ
It's this
あ、
bucket you're carrying around.
ザラインが
The
おる。
bucket isn't even from the original Stanley parable. It's
ああ、
just
まあまあまあ、
sequel
そうね。そう
content.
ね。
We're the ones that matter, Stanley. Classic characters from the first game, like the adventure line and the broom closet. Because that's what fans want from a sequel. They want more of their favorite jokes,
もの
not this bucket that they've never seen before. Yes, I know I'm the one who gave you the bucket, but you're spending too much time on it.
あ
Don't you want another story involving the adventure line? We could make the adventure line go somewhere new. Yes, yes, that's what the fans want. Let's do it.
あ、すげえ。スタンリーパラブル1に出てきたキャラクターが勢ぞろ。キャラクターっていうかもうマネキンにこの勝手に炎に突っ込む赤ちゃんに人というか生き物は一切出てこんのよな、スタンリー以外に。マダレナがいるから。わ
Look
あ。
at that wacky line. Who knows where it'll go off to next? Oh, and it played some silly music as well.
うわー、出た。うるさい。やらんでいいねん、そんなの。うるさいな。あ
Now this is what the Stanley parable
ー、よ
is
か
all
った。
about.
すぐ止まっ
Don't
た
you。remember all those great jokes from the original dialogue?
Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers.
あったかそんな
It's。as classic now as it was back then. Let's do it for the fans, Stanley. Let's give them more content exactly like this.
え
But if we want to do that, you're going to have to give something up.
こんなとこなかったよね、スタンリーパラブル1に。まあ、とりあえずラインに従っていきますか？ザ・ライントレードマークに。スタンリー君人形探してるだけなんやけどな。
Don't you get it, Stanley? We need to get rid of the bucket. That's why I'm very proud to introduce a brand new character. This is the Bucket Destroyer.
バケツデストロ
I think it'll make a wonderful new addition to the rich lore of the Stanley parable. True, it also was not in the original game, but it's such a well-fleshed-out character with so much personality that to me it already feels as though it's been part of the cast all along. Don't you agree?
やだ
Can you guess what the Bucket Destroyer does? Surely you don't need me to spell it
そう
out
ね
for you.
もう名前
Go
が
ahead
すべ
now,
て
Stanley. Say goodbye to the bucket, and then pop it into the machine when you're ready.
やだバケツと離れたくない
Now listen to me. It's crucial that you give it the bucket. I don't know what the Bucket Destroyer will do if it can't destroy your bucket. Destroying buckets is all it knows. That is its singular personality trait. Sure, I can hear you saying, how does a character with only one personality trait deserve to join the pantheon of beloved Stanley Parable characters? Well, you see, if you were to really explore the Bucket Destroyer, you would see that its desire to crush buckets is so densely loaded with complexity and nuance that it's really like 10 personality traits. What other object in this game can you even say that about? The broom closet? Certainly not. I wonder what sort of Bucket Destroyer merchandise the fans will be clamoring for after this. Okay, the Bucket Destroyer is getting very upset now. You'll have to hurry and feed it. We can't get back to the classic Stanley Parable characters like the Adventure Line or the Bucket Destroyer until you crush that damn bucket. Quickly now, the fans are waiting. Do it for the fans, Stanley. Give the fans what they
画面
want.
が
Hurry and
爆発した爆発落ちなんて最低あら何このイメージ映像
The Bucket Destroyer, my prized creation. You had so much potential. We were going to do such marvelous things with you, tell such spellbinding stories about you, all of its squadness. Goodbye, new friend. For the moment in time that you were here, you were magnificent.
バケツデストロイヤー。ごめんよ、バケツデストロイヤー。でも俺はこの、絶対なる安心感を与えてくれるバケツに、まだまだ未練が。
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
ということは、バケツを持たずに行って、
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Wow. Yes, this room. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
バケツ持ってる持ってないでも
And so
分
he
岐するんですね。
through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
ほら大変だ。
But Stanley didn't want to go back to the office. He wanted to wander about and get even further off track. So now in order to get back, he needed to go, from here it's, left.
レフトね。
Oh, no.
Gotcha.
No, it's to the right. My mistake.
こっちね。
No, not the right. Why would I have ever said it was to the right? What
なん
was
と
I
バケツ
thinking?
を持たずに行けば、スタンリーパラブル1のあれに行けるわけだ。
Now, let's see. We went down right, left, down, left, right. Yep. Okay, yes. I've got it now. This story is absolutely, definitely this way.
はいよ。あ、
No. This isn't right at all. You're not supposed to be here yet. This is all a spoiler. Quick, Stanley, close your eyes. Okay. We just have to get back to, who am I kidding? It's all rubbish now. The whole story completely unusable. How about rather than waste my time trying to salvage this nonsense, we'll just restart the game from the beginning. And this time, suppose we don't wander so far off track, Okay, from the top.
こうなるんだ。じゃあ、あれなんか、
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
様相が違うんですけど。とりあえずバケツ持ってこい。
bucket. Just Stanley and the bucket. Off on another thrilling adventure together.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong.
じゃあとりあえずこれ
Stanley
の
took the door on his left to go
奥に
back
進ん
to
で
the
みるか。
meeting room.
No, said the bucket. Don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift. Good, said the bucket. Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
あれ赤と青のあれってど
In
こ
here,
だっ
said
け
the
な
Go into this dark room over here.
Stanley once again obeyed blindly.
こっちか。はい。
Now pick up the phone, said the bucket. Pick up the phone, and it will take us back home, where we can go about life together. Whoa, hold on. Why did you unplug the phone? Were you trying to resist the bucket's orders? Stanley, I was joking. Obviously, the bucket isn't talking to you and telling you to do things. Buckets can't talk. It was a joke. Don't you get the joke? It's funny, Stanley. A talking bucket. Can't you see? Oh, goodness. I must have really bungled up the delivery if you actually took me seriously. Where did I mess up the joke? Should I have paused for longer or spoken quicker? Comedic timing is so difficult. I wish I were better at it. But there isn't exactly an instructional video on comedy that one can watch to fully... Oh, wait, yes, there is. It's sitting right here. Let's take a look. What is comedic timing? What is comedic timing? How does it work? How long should it last? How can it be used to effectively silence your political enemies? And more importantly, can it be taught in its entirety within 90 seconds? Thankfully, the answer to all of these questions is yes.
Yes.
Let's dive deeper. If you've ever told a joke or made someone laugh, in all likelihood, you did it while standing 50 to 80 centimeters from them in a room of no more than 76 degrees Fahrenheit, with one of your arms raised straight upward at a 15-degree angle from your body. These are the optimal conditions for good comedic timing. To begin the joke, start by stating and spelling your name. Next, provide a brief synopsis of the joke, including the specific times at which the recipient of the joke will laugh, and then spell out your name a second time. With these steps complete, it's time to begin the humor. Speak the entire joke in no more than 18 seconds, and no less than 13 and a half, pausing only for bathroom breaks when necessary. When the joke has concluded, it is customary to inform your listener that the joke is over by declaring in your loudest possible voice, "I'm Dunny with the funny." Let's practice screaming, "I'm Dunny with the funny" now.
I'm Dunny with the funny.
Good. This saying is a perfect example of expectations management, which is the cornerstone of good comedy. Finally, it's time to hand out surveys. Collecting hard data from your audience on how rapt they were throughout the joke is the only way to grow or learn as a comedian.
この全体を通して見れば確かにジョークかもしれんな。
and should include the same question reprinted several times.
絶対に人に嫌われるけど。
Just to ensure the survey taker is actually paying attention and not simply filling in answers at random. And that's all there is. With these strategies at your disposal, you'll have audiences doubled over in laughter and even tripled over in laughter in no time at all. Just remember to let them stop laughing at some point, you gut-busting little scamp. After all, we're each of us needed on the front lines of the war to fight the 12-legged invader who threaten our very existence, and to very likely die in a hailstorm of bullets and mandibles. All of us must be prepared to give our lives to this noble cause. Just as our children must do after us, and their children after them. Godspeed, and may Earth reign supreme.
そうだな。
Hey, goodness, this video is a little outdated, isn't it? Well,
時代遅れっていうか。
I think the fundamentals of proper comedic timing are still as relevant today as they were back then. So with that in mind, I believe the only way forward is for us to return to the two doors and walk through all of this again, so I can try telling my story with more appropriate comedic delivery. Come along, let's head back.
できますそんなこと。いや、期待しちゃうな。ナレーターさんが15度の角度に手を挙げて。
You'll be in stitches. A talking bucket, you'll say? How ridiculous. How absurd. What a hilarious concept. The king of comedy. That's what you'll call me.
すごい自信。
Thank goodness we have the instructional video. Otherwise, who knows where we'd be
ビデオ見ただけでそんな自信つく？
Well, I wouldn't be the king of comedy, that's for sure. The bucket spoke to Stanley. The bucket spoke. The bucket spoke. Oh, I'll figure it out on the fly. No need to overthink things.
で、まあ、分岐のところまで戻って、
Here we go. You ready?
OK。
When Stanley and the bucket came to a set of 2 open doors, they entered the door on the left.
あ、なんか、暗黒が広がってる。ああ、戻ってる。
We're back at the phone already? No, what's going on? There was supposed to be several rooms leading up to this. There was supposed to be a build-up to this point, a dramatic display of remarkable comedic wit which culminates in this scene with the phone. But now the timing's completely off.
ああ、そういうこと？
The joke will never land. Well, not the way it was
タイミング
meant.
が間が悪い
And
か
it's
ら
all
っつ
my
って。
fault. I must have forgotten that the phone room comes immediately after the 2 doors room. What an egregious mistake. I've made a fool of myself. I don't deserve the title of King of Comedy. I'm nothing. I'm not even the lowliest joke-telling whelp.
ああ、
I think
どんどん自己肯定感を失っていってる。
I think
あ、ちょっと
I
待っ
need
て。
to go
ちょっと
back
待っ
and
て。え、
rewatch that instructional video again. Yes, surely that will help me improve
ちょっと
my...
待って。ああ。
Here we go.
あ、びっくりした。
You ready? When Stanley and the bucket came to a set of 2 open doors, they entered the door on the left.
じゃあ行っちゃおう。あ。ああ。
We're back at the phone already? No. Here we go. You ready?
くそ。
When Stanley and the bucket came to a set of
結
2
局こうな
open
るん
doors,
か。
they entered the door on the left. No. You were supposed to go through the door on the right, leading back to the phone. Did you not even look at the instructional video? I think this is all covered very clearly. There's no way I can make the comedic timing work now. It's done. The joke is completely done and over. It's all your fault, Stanley.
やった
I'm
よ。
going to be ridiculed in the community of other joke writers. I'm going to be shamed at every one of our meetings from now on. All because you couldn't watch a simple video and take a hint. Are you proud of yourself for bringing me down, Stanley? Are you proud?
あ、
Stanley, you love the bucket so much it's like you... it's as though all of your other most prized possessions pale in comparison. Yes. Well, let me try that again, Stanley. I heard that you are pale with shame over how unabashedly in love with a bucket you are. No? Still not? Is it the delivery? Pale with shame. Pale with shame? Pale... What's another word to describe a bucket? Stanley, this bucket is so metal, I think I saw it playing guitar. No. We're getting away from making fun of Stanley's obsession with the bucket, which was the whole point of this. I'm no good at these jokes. I need more...
すべてがバケツを中心に回ってるな、このゲーム。
That's what will make me the king of comedy again. More instructional videos. Let's see.
ごめんね、リロイ。リロイって誰なんやろな。ああ。
How wonderful. Stanley was alone. Finally. This is great, he thought to himself. This is what I've wanted all along. I got what I
そうなの？
wanted.
どうしようかな。バケツ持っ
Where are we
て、
going today? The bucket asked.
今度
Stanley
は
just smiled. Anywhere they
今度は
went
電話出る
together
か。
would be perfect. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his... This was not the correct way to the meeting room. But Stanley had felt the bucket
バ
calling
ケ
to
ツ、
him,
バケツ
telling
あ
him
り、
that the employee lounge was simply the place to be.
バケツありエ
And
ント
here
リー
it
見てみたい
was.
な。
Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
はいはい、戻りません。
No,
said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift. Good,
Said the bucket.
Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket
本当は喋っ
asked.
てないんでしょこのバケツって。もう騙されんぞ。よいしょ。
In here, said the bucket. Go into this dark room over here. Stanley once again obeyed blindly.
おい。
Now pick up the phone, said the bucket. Pick up the phone and it will take us back home, where we can go about life together.
もしもし
This is the sad story of a man named Stanley and his bucket. Once upon a time, I gave Stanley a bucket because I thought he was lonely and could use a friend. And then, very distressingly, he began to believe the bucket could speak to him.
あれのせいを持てんねん。ただいま。あら、いい部屋じゃないの。あ、バケツいる。ハロー、スタンリー、僕だよ。君のバケツだよ。僕を君と戻すために M をして。M。
The Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket was merely meant to provide the comforting glow of companionship. It doesn't literally talk and give you
戻っ
orders.
てきた。
Whatever Stanley is hearing the bucket say to him is just in his head.
あ、いる。僕を君の家へ連れて帰るために O を押して。はい。あ、帰ってきた。
Lately, I've been concerned about him. Wouldn't you be concerned as well? To see him delusional like this, obsessing over an inanimate metal object? I want to say something to him, but I don't know how I can convince him. I don't know if he'll listen to
あ、い
me.
る。本題へ戻るために言う。あ、戻ってきた。
Well, I'll try anyway. Stanley, can you hear me?
あ、聞こえる
Listen
よ。
to me. It's just a bucket. It can't think. It can't talk. All it will ever truly do for you is effectively transfer a
Ah,
from one
bak-
location
bucket's
to a
disorder,
different location. That's it. It doesn't do anything else.
このうるさい男の言うことは聞くな。僕たちが家へ帰るために X をして。あ、帰ってきた。
You see, he's not listening. He's still taking orders from the bucket. You know, once upon a time it was me he took orders from. Me he trusted and listened
やきもち焼い
to.
てる
Now
わ、こ
all
の
he
人。
cares about is his awful bucket. This stupid hunk
Oi.
of metal.
バケツのことを悪く言うな。君の人生で僕以外全員を無視するために M をして。
It's sad, but I suppose he doesn't need me anymore. From now on, he's just going to cling to this bucket, this cold, empty bucket, this sort of shiny bucket. Well, I'll give it this. The bucket does have a nice shine to it.
僕が実在するって信じてるんだよね、スタンリー。家へ帰るために P を押して。
Yes, I suppose on closer inspection,
あれなんか
it doesn't quite look
さっ
like
きと言ってること違くない
hardware store bucket. It's just a little more, what am I trying to say?
あ、テレビ見てる。
Sturdier, more capable of transporting liquid. Like it would be better at moving an amount of water from one room to another.
あんま変わってなくない ?J を押すとこの同じ日を何度も何度も僕と繰り返せるよ。やった。
Oh my god, what am I saying? Better at carrying water from room to room. It's a bucket. It's literally just a bucket. Why do I feel some need to point out the ways in which it's so much more than just a regular bucket?
急に正気に戻ったな。家へ仕事、家へ仕事、家へ帰るために H を押せ。あ
Oh no. I'm having feelings.
あ。あれ
Bucket. No, 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 no. What's going on?
ああ、バケツ
Why
の
do
魔
I want
力
to
に
be。with the bucket? Hear what the bucket has to say. Do anything it asks. What's wrong with me? I don't understand. Perhaps if I had the bucket, this would be less confusing. Yes. The
ああ。
bucket could tell me what to do in this troublesome situation. Stanley, give me the bucket. Give it to me. Give me the bucket,
怖い怖い怖い怖い怖い怖い。
Stanley. I need it. Give it to me now. Give it or I'll...
怖い怖い怖い怖い。急にホラー展開始まっちゃった。戻ろう、スタンリー。どこにあ。この元の世界にってことか。あれ、成田さん
Good morning. Thank you for contacting the Future Happiness Foundation. We are confirming your shipment of 1,327 cardboard boxes to your place of work. Can you verify that this is correct?
大量の段ボール発注されてますけど、それって合ってます
Understood.
え
Your order will be canceled immediately. Thank you again for contacting the Future Happiness
ああ。キャンセルできたんだ。で、またバケツ持っていきたいところってどっかあるかな。バケツ持って、
A strong bucket, a humble bucket, a committed bucket, a bucket of culture and distinction. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room. No, said the bucket. Don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift. Yeah, good, said the bucket. Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do. Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
なんか降りた気がする。前回やったような気がするな。そう、ここバケツ持っていけないんだ。
You see, there's a sign right there. It says, "No buckets past this point." Stanley, how could you think it was okay to bring the bucket here? Unless, what if the problem is that you actually don't know what is a bucket and what isn't a bucket?
あは。
I suppose
そ
that
うか、
would
これで、あれか、バケツじゃないクイズが始まるのかな。
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
この構造が時々変わるのなんなんやろな。じゃあバケツ持たずに行って、
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
どこだっけ？階段と赤と青の両方があると。赤と青の両方ね。
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
これ、下に行くとループするやつで、もう一回やろう。
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
あれか、
Stanley
バケ
decided to
ツ
go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had
バケ
simply
ツ持
missed
た
a
ずに行
memo.
けばいいのか、あそこに。
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room.
駆け抜
And
けろ、スタン
Stanley
リ
knew
ー。
perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee
ス
lounge
タンリー
first,
君、スタン
just
リ
to
ー君
admire
人
it.
形のために駆け抜けろ。
The lounge was grand, majestic, perhaps, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the
結局、
first
スタン
open
リ
door
ーパラ
on
ブ
his
ル
left.
とスタンリーパラブル2の違いって、
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired
バ
years
ケツ
ago.
があるかないかなんだね。
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be
うせうせ。
difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about.
ほい。
Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look,
No
let me
buckets.
prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side.
Ah,
Give me a
ここ。
chance. Now listen carefully, this is important.
Ah,
Stanley
but-
walked through
Ah.
the red door.
これこれ。
You're getting close now, Stanley. You've nearly gotten all of the Figler and Marines. Very soon, you'll collect
名前
the last one.
また変わって
And
ね。
then the first number will equal the second number, and that will be it. We'll be different people by then. Different in the sense that we used to have none of them. And now we have them all. You can't go back to when you had no Figler and Marines. None of us can.
たまらんぜ。赤でしょ？これ従ってみるか。なんか前
Oh,
回、
thank God you are willing to listen to me. Do you see that I really have wanted you to be happy all this time?
はい。
The problem is all these choices. The two of us always trying to get somewhere that isn't here. Running and running and running, just the way you're doing right now. Don't you see that it's killing us, Stanley? I wanted to stop. We would both
無限ループ
be
してる。
so much happier if we just stopped. And I think I have a solution. Here, let me show you.
お、開いた。はい。 お、
What do we want? What are we looking for? Here.
うち。
Yes. Oh, it's beautiful.
ああ、まあ美し
If we
い
just stay
な。
right here, right in this moment with this place, Stanley, I think I feel happy.
え、怖っ。
I actually feel happy.
なんかどんどん宗教的な話になってません？
No, wait. Where are you going?
あれなんか作りかけの部屋になっちゃった。あ、
Oh
階段。
no. Stay away from those stairs. If you hurt yourself, if you die, the game will reset. We'll lose all of this.
へえ。そう言われると登りたくなっちゃう。まあ、なっちまうな。
Please, no, Stanley, let me stay here. Don't take this from me.
お、
Please, Stanley, think about what you're doing.
そういっ
No! Oh,
ああ、よかった。
you lived. You had me worried there for a moment. Now, can we please get back to the other room?
戻るか。ああ、綺麗。
There. See? This is what you want. This is where we can both be happy. We really can. If we stop moving, we just have to stop moving.
で、戻ると。
Stanley, go back. There's nothing good that can come from this.
すごいな。飛び降りるためだけにある階段だな、これ。
No, no, what do you do? Do you just not believe me? What can I say to convince you?
せっ。痛い。
Stanley, let's go back to the other room. Can you do that for me?
いや、これはナレーターかわいそうだな、さすがに。
Is this really how much you dislike my game? That you'll throw yourself from this platform over and over to be rid of it? You are literally willing to kill yourself to keep me from being happy. Am I reading the situation correctly?
あはは。どんどん卑屈になってく。ああ。
Or maybe you're just getting a kick out of it. I don't know anymore. I just wanted us to get along. But I guess that was too much to ask. It looks like you wanted to make a choice after all. Well, this one is yours.
ういー。
Is it
Ah.
over?
倒れた。
It's going to restart, isn't it? I'm going back. All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
で、あとは階段ね。階段。どこだ？
Ah,
the embrace of an old friend, a weathered companionship that stands the test of time.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back, and so the two of them detoured through the maintenance section and walked straight ahead to the opposite door.
To 完全攻略主義者の本能を信じて。階段ね。Something to do with stair。なんかヒントないかな、これ以上。グッドラック。
Oh, Stanley, can you feel it? The broom closet. It wants the... Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
そうね。あ、開いた。あ、ここはあかんかったけどな、前。あ、エレベーター。え、こんなんあったっけ？あ、両方押せる。じゃあ、上？なんか、ボサノバ。愉快な BGM が流れ始めたけど、長ない？長ない？どんだけ、長ない？どんだけ登っていってんのこれ。長いな。チルですね。長ない？それにしたって長くないですか？あ、着いた。一緒じゃない？下か？結局このボサノバが流れる。でもボタンを押すと結局戻ってくるのね、ここに。なんだ？待ってたらなんかなんのかな？いやー、ならなそう。
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire if not for the soothing presence of the bucket. Even now, in his darkest of hours, did the bucket's warmth and guiding light pierce the dark clouds of... But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
よし、じゃあフリーダムエンド目指しますか。バケツデストロイヤーにバケツデストロイしてもらうのも後でやろうかな。
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves. The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears as Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine. Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well? Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place? These questions raced furiously in Stanley's feeble mind. No! He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control, never! He squeezed the bucket tighter. His one friend in the entire world. At this point, he could trust no one except for the bucket. But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he and the bucket would dismantle the controls for good. Two best friends, Stanley and the bucket, up against the world. They high-fived in a really cool way, and the bucket made a sassy comment about taking down the system.
バケツとハイファイブ。やっぱり持ち手のところとスパーンってやるのかな。
Stanley and the bucket waited in blackness. Was it over? Yes, they had done it. Stanley and the bucket had defeated their greatest and darkest enemy, freed themselves from the tyrannical grip of the evil mind control machine. Freedom was now mere moments away. Excitedly, the two of them began to discuss the kind of life they wanted to live once they stepped through this massive door. The bucket wanted to learn to roller skate. Stanley wanted to sneeze in every country on Earth. Both of them wanted to begin watching a movie, any movie, but then stop it halfway through and begin watching it in reverse from the end. True, it was a simple life they envisioned, but it was one they'd lived together, with one another to lean on, to trust, to support, and... What? Wait. What was happening? Why had the door stopped? Was Stanley and the bucket not about to be freed? An unbearable silence filled the room, lingering in uncertainty, until finally the truth hit Stanley square in the face. This building did not want the bucket to leave. Even the facility itself recognized the incredible calming presence of the bucket, needed the soothing warmth of the bucket, would go to any lengths not to part with the bucket. No. Stanley can't leave this place. Not while he has such a precious bucket in his arms. Not while this building has anything to say about it. Stanley realized he would never again leave this very room. But at least he has the bucket. To be trapped eternally in darkness isn't really so bad, Stanley thought to himself. As long as I have my bucket with me, right?
I'll be okay, won't I? Stanley gulped. Very soon now, he was about to find out.
すごいな、バケツ。このバケツさえあればどうとでもなるんやな。
All of his co-workers were... Wait, no. This isn't the right office, is it? Is this Stanley's office?
じゃあバケツ持っ
The bucket made
て、
Stanley want to be a better man and a better co-worker. In time, perhaps, he would become both of those.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
エスケープの方行ってみるか。あと一個。あと一個な、どこだろうな。階段でしょ？階段か。
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
もう気になるのよな。
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
RTA みたいになってきたな。よし。
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read
やだぷー。
Mind Control. Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley and the bucket would both meet a violent death. The door behind them was not shut. Stanley and the bucket still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley and the bucket were knowingly walking forward into a very painful death for each of them.
Let's go. お、バケツいるね。
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley and the bucket inched closer to their demise, Stanley reflected on how meaningless the bucket's warmth and comfort had turned out to be. To be sure, it puts the mind and the soul at ease to embrace the bucket, but what use is a sense of ease when you're about to be crushed to death? This is what Stanley thought to himself, and he sort of kicked himself for wasting so much time carrying a bucket everywhere. Farewell, Stanley.
What?
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley and the bucket were led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, the bucket's life came to an end, as it was crushed violently to death.
お、はいはいはい。
It was a shame, the death of such a magnificent bucket. It's true that all buckets are radiant in their own way, but this one stood above the rest. It was a glorious bucket to behold.
グロリアスバケツ。あれバケツいなくなっちゃった。バケツ大展示会の来場をお待ちしております。あなたは今知識の崖に立っています。人の精神はたびたびバケツのように空っぽになり、洞窟のような虚無感さえあります。しかしあなたの目の前にある展示物を使うことで心は豊かに満たされ具体化されます。このバケツの知識とその歴史は私たちが持つ唯一の真実の知識なのです。ここであなたが学んだことを世界に持ち出すつもりですか？この展示の情報について課題があるかもしれませんが、心を開いてくれますか？あなたの生活やあなたの大切な人をこの展示をきっかけに変えられますか？もしくはあなたは目を背け、無知と暗闇の中で今までと同じように生きますか？なんか現代アートの展示会みたい。
Can you see how arrogant it was for Stanley to take a bucket like this and to claim it for his own? Can you see the hubris that blinded him? Can you see that the bucket is far more noble than Stanley will ever be in his short life?
ああ、バケツの絵。あ、これはなんかちょっといいかもな。この写真は史上最多である25個のバケツをカメラにもっとあるでしょ。この写真家は一度にこれほどたくさんのバケツを目の当たりにするという幸福感から数週間にわたり緊張性ショックを患います。ああ。いやでも普通になんかアートとしてありそう。あ、解体新書。2つの取っ手付きバケツ。このバケツは取っ手が2つ書かれています。このようなデザインは今まで現実には一度も前例がなく危険すぎる無謀な実験とされています。毎年それを試みただけで十数人が処刑されています。そうなの？でも取っ手が2つあったところで意味ないしな。お、ボロボロ。地獄バケツのレプリカ。中世紀この強力な魅力を持つバケツの支配をめぐり数十カ国が戦争を引き起こしました。10億人もが命を落としたにもかかわらず誰もバケツを支配できないという事実だけが残されています。バケツ。ストレスバケツ、アナライト。ストレスバケツ、解説なし。心配事とかストレスをここに入れると。ストレスはレベルオブウォーターへ。この、ストレス度合いがこのバケツの水量で表されて、これをひねって外に出すことで、リラックスできる。バケツってそんなもんやったっけ？なんか、それっぽい音楽が流れてる。洞穴の絵。バケツが人類誕生より前にすでに実在していたことは知られているものの、いつ頃から存在していたのかは知られていません。この洞穴の絵は、古代人によりバケツの実用的な使い方の発見について描かれたもので、この時すでにバケツは数千年前から存在していたようです。この絵の注目すべき点は、バケツ自身が使うことを許可し、人類がその宝を使うのにふさわしいと判断されたという点と言えます。なるほど。まずはじめにバケツありきなんだ。バケツに使うことを許可されてるんだ。人間は。
No man can own a bucket, and certainly not a bucket as dazzling to behold as this one. It is man who should kneel before the bucket.
ぶら下げられたバケツ。この作品は人間とバケツとの必要な関係性を象徴しています。どれほどバケツが我々の手中にあろうともまだまだ把握しきれていない部分がたくさんあるのです。この距離は私たち自身のために必然的にあるのです。あれか。これなんか下飛び降りれそう。なんか空中を歩けるんだが。手に取れる。
But there is something we can do. Something we can do together, you and I, that will right this terrible wrong.
結局ここに戻ってくるのね。
Let Stanley die. Let him be crushed by the machine. Don't reset the game.
なんか
Don't give him another opportunity to run off with another.
前回と言ってることが違う。
We can save the world's buckets from their treatment as tools and implements if only we let Stanley die together.
スタンリーを殺すことでバケツを救済できると。わー。思想が。結局ここに戻ってくると。
How wonderful. Stanley was alone. Finally. This is great, he thought to himself. This is what I've wanted all along. I got what I... Oh, please. Are you really just doing this for the achievement? Click a door 5 times. Is that all that you think an achievement is worth? No. I can't just give these merits away for such little effort. A measly 5 clicks. Now suppose you were to click the door 20 times. I would say that's the kind of effort that warrants recognition.
そ そうな。どうしようかな。あとやってないこと。バケツなしでいくか。バケツなしで、
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
こっち行っ
This
て、
was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. It was okay. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
ここってどこに繋がってるんだっけ？
Stanley had now gotten himself so far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun. So far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun. So far off the beaten path
ああ、これか
that。it seemed the office had begun. So far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun. So far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun. So far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun. So far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun. You didn't think I was actually just a recording, did you? What a silly and trite explanation that would be. All the back and forth between you and me, all the absurd adventures we've been through, and it all turns out I'm just a tape recording? It was all just in Stanley's head. I bet that's the kind of twist you think is revelatory. I bet each and every time you watch a movie where it turns out all to be in the main character's imagination, you must absolutely bolt off the couch in pure shock at the phenomenal and intricate storytelling. It must be so simple to be you. Life being an unending waterfall of surprises and delights. How much more exciting you must find the world than the rest of us do. Now I've become sad. Look what you've done to me. This is all your fault. Someone was following Stanley. He was sure of it. If he checked over his shoulder now, he would surely catch them. It was only a matter of time. Not everyone is so lucky to have a bucket, but Stanley is a very lucky fellow. Very lucky indeed. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket
スタンリー君人形最後の一個
telling
ど
him that the
こ？
employee lounge was simply the place to be.
階
And
段
here
ね。
it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift.
降りれんかな？なんとかして。ほい。
But Stanley feared that any path he walked might lead to the separation of himself and the bucket, his dearest friend. So he threw himself to his death, that they might die in one another's arms. How deeply touching.
なるほどな。
How wonderful. Stanley was alone. Finally. This is great, he thought to himself. This is what I've wanted all along. I got what I wanted.
うーんと。
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. It was okay. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please.
どこしょ
Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance. Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door.
う。はい。
Aha, perhaps
Wow.
you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red door.
はい。
I still don't think we're communicating properly. Stanley walked through the red door.
はい。
All right, fine, go ahead, Stanley. You want to know so badly what's out there? You want to find out what lies at the end of this road you've chosen? Well, don't let me stop you. You see? There's nothing here.
あ、これ、
I
こ
haven't
う
even
なるの
finished
かな。
building
はい
this
はいはい。
section of the map because you were never supposed to be here in the first place. Broken rooms, exposed developer textures. Is this what you had wanted? Was it worth ruining the entire story I had written out specifically for you? Do you not think I put a lot of time into that? Because I did. And in the end, it was all for nothing. Because this is what you wanted to see. Help me here, Stanley. Help elucidate these strange and unknowable desires of yours. What would have made this game better? What did you want to see? Vehicles? Skill trees? Work with me. You've given me absolutely nothing so far. Tell you what. Let me take a stab in the dark at a new design, and you can give me some feedback. There we go. A third option. This already feels leaps ahead of where we were before. Go ahead, Stanley. Take it for a spin.
じゃあ、こっちに。ああ、ここに繋
Okay,
がるんだ。
I'm going to stop you there. Now, tell me about your experience with this new version. Would you say that the game benefited from allowing you more choices? Feel free to be honest. I'm looking for some real critical feedback here.
うん。じゃあ、ここで。
Aha! You see, I knew I was onto something. Where do these flashes of inspiration come from? How did I know the game needed a third door? Well, it's instinct mostly, a calling in your gut. I really couldn't say where the idea came from, except that I felt it in my soul. You can't teach that, Stanley. Don't even try. Here, based on the data from your previous playthrough, I've compiled a new version. And to be perfectly candid, I think I've knocked it out of the park with this one. Let's take a look.
母が、リーダーボードね。これ全部同じとこに繋がってんの？繋がってそう。
Now, would you say that competitive leaderboard helped you feel motivated to keep walking through doors? Again, honest answers, please.
いや、よかったよ。
I nearly forgot. I've got a prototype of a new game I've been working on, and now would be a lovely opportunity to give it some playtesting. You wouldn't mind taking a look at it, would you? Perfect. Let me boot it up. In this game, the baby crawls left towards danger. You click the button to move him back to the right, and if he reaches the fire, you fail. It's a very meaningful game, all about the desperation and tedium of endlessly confronting the demands of family life. I think the art world will really take notice. But of course, the message of the game only becomes clear once you've been playing it for about 4 hours. So why don't you give it 4 hours of play to make sure it's effective? Be sure to keep notes on your experience.
いや、もうこの音が本当に不愉快なんよな。うるさいし。
You heartless bastard. Did you do it because you hate babies or purely to spite me? Because if it's the latter, well, I don't know what to do. I'm completely out of ideas. I can't think of a single thing that might improve the experience for me. I'm not even going to try. I'm out. I'm done. It's over. Thank you for playing. Your input was extremely valuable. Oh, hey, since my game was so awful, why don't we play someone else's game, just to ease the pain? Let's see. What do we have here? Yes, this seems like it'll work. Let's give it a shot. Aha! Fascinating. What do you think this game is about, Stanley? What's our backstory? What is our motivation? Well, it seems obvious to me that you are meant to play as a creepy man spying on innocent civilians below you from up high in your creep tower, perhaps for some sort of twisted erotic purpose. Yes, that must be it. What a fascinating venture into the experience of total mental depravity. So far, I love everything about this game, Stanley.
このゲームもなんか元ネタあんのかな。
Come, let's venture outward and see what else is out there.
多分あるんやろうな。
Oh no. No, it can't be. It is. It's an open world game. Good God, quickly block it off.
わあ。
Thank goodness, Stanley. What a close call. You nearly wandered off into that thing. That big, open, just wandering around. No right or wrong directions. No path to follow. You can just go in any... Oh, thank heavens we avoided it. We're out of the woods now, Stanley. Okay, I'm going to get us out of here. Let's find another game. Preferably something with walls. Something with nice, big, insurmountable walls. Okay, I think this will be just the thing.
あ、これね。ロケットリーグ
See, this is
許可
exactly
取って
what
ん
I
のか
had
な、
in
もし
mind.
かして本当に。
Just a nice big box for you to run around in. There isn't any possibility that you could get lost here. Now this is game design. Stanley, if you manage to get lost in this game, I will be phenomenally impressed. Okay, so what exactly do we do here? Let's see. There are lots of cars here in the back, but obviously there's no racetrack. Okay, I'm seeing that there's a ball of some kind back here. Is this game sports ball? Stanley, I think it's sports ball. Oh, what fun. We shall run the bases and do a touchdown together. Yes, I think surely we must. Okay, Stanley, here's the ball. Have fun.
わあ、ボールだ。でね。
Hold on. What are you doing?
おう。
Stanley, don't do that. I can't follow you there. I can't help you. How will you write a story without me? You can't do it. You know that. Stanley, come back.
このルートじゃなさそうかな。てかこのスタンリーパラブル2はずっとこのまんまなんかな。
I wonder what he found. If what he wanted was to be the leading man in his own story, well, perhaps he's gotten it. Down in wherever he is right now. I wonder if he's happy with his choice, and if he's learned the heavy cost that comes with it. He'll understand soon what I was trying to tell him. He needs me. Someone who will wrap everything up at the end, to make sense out of the chaos and the fear and the confusion. That's who I am. That is what I mean to this world. Oh, yes. Yes, I'll be back. There's no other way. Once this ends, after it all comes to a close, then I'll be back. The end will be here soon. Very soon. I can wait. All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
まあ今日は時間がいい感じなので、この辺にしとこうかな。
It takes a lot of humility to carry a bucket so magnificent. Stanley checked his ego and then proceeded onward.
Stanley clung the bucket to his cheek. Stanley pressed the bucket upon every little thing in the office. Nothing responded to the bucket's touch, but it did little to discourage Stanley's belief in the magic of the bucket. Oh, please. Are you really just doing this for the achievement? Click a door 5 times. Is that all that you think an achievement is worth? No. I can't just give these merits away for such little effort. A measly 5 clicks. Now suppose you were to click the door 20 times. I would say that's the kind of effort that warrants recognition.
まあ。今日はこの辺にしときますか。では。
Stanley clutched the
まあ、
bucket
次回の
tightly to
配
his chest
信
and entered the door on his left.
はね、まあいつものようにツイッターでお知らせするので、ツイッターのフォロー、あと YouTube のね、チャンネル登録をしてお待ちください。では、ありがとうございました。